guys. I'm Megan, by the way. You need from me in any capacity, like your family now too. And it'll be nice for you guys to get to know each other. So you guys have known each other for a year. Got a lot of love for his people. So we do a lot of hiking, lots of sunsets.
Watching the California sunset.
I can't wait to hike with you.
And maybe not all these
I'll give you some attention.
Maybe. You got a good one for sure.
Aw.
Good. So.
Welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T, and I got another recap for you guys. Married at First Sight season 15 episode 3, Ain't No Wedding Like a West Coast Wedding. And we have more nuptials. We got a little bit of boundaries that need to be set at the reception, and there is a little late night romance possibly after the reception for one couple. But we're going to talk about all of this. But before we do, make sure you take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also, please don't forget to like and share. And without further ado, let's jump into this. So, as we said, there were some couples that said I do already. We're going to talk about Mitch and Kristen's nuptials. And as we recall, Kristen surprised her dad by revealing that she'll be getting married on that same day. Now, this opens up with the rest of his reaction, which he admittedly was shocked. I mean, he thinks the idea is insane and points out the risk involved with such, being such a gamble. But ultimately, he does support his daughter. And then also back on Mitch's side of the world, he's panicking and worrying that people are going to see his bitchy side. Now, Kristen doesn't appear to be nervous after speaking with her dad as she's opening up a gift that was sent to her, of course, by Mitch, which included a custom ring that bring her to tears. One of her bridesmaids saying, "This has never been done before." Well, the other 4 brides are getting the same thing. It's just new this season. It's also time for them to head down to the aisle. Everybody's situated. And then there's a mix-up. So Kristen's mom walks in, as Mitch is asking the officiant if she was his bride. Now, he was told otherwise, that actually this is the bride's mother. And I got to give it to her. The girl looks good. I don't know how old she is. Now, I don't know about the dress she has on, but she looks good. And then, of course, we see moments later, Kristen made her debut. Now, at the altar, there's a whole lot of talking going on, especially on Kristen's side. They did go ahead and recite their vows, exchange rings, wrap the ceremony up with a kiss, and then they walk down the aisle hand in hand. Kristen and Mitch chat over some champagne. And pretty much at this point, the vibes are mostly good, although he wishes he could see her less made up and with less, less made up, no heels, all of that stuff. Now, we can't forget about Morgan and Binh because, as we know, their wedding is on hold. But we did get an update that, he is still sick with COVID. The nuptials have been pushed back a few more days, but both of them are hoping to make the best of this whole situation once they meet at the altar. So now it's time for the photo sessions for Miguel and Lindy and Kristen and Mitch. Miguel and Lindy are first, who, their chemistry is building really well. Her friends kind of remarked that he is Lindy's type. And then as for Mitch and Kristen, They get caught up in the chaos of all of the photos and don't have much time to chat. I mean, Kristen is ready to go sit down somewhere, and Mitch is like, all this is just doing too much. And it's clear that he is just pretty much over all of this. But everyone is still smiling at the right time, and they're making the best of all of this. So now these photo shoots are over. The I do's have been said and the first meetings are done and complete. It's time for the reception. So Miguel and Lindy kick off their evening with the first dance, which kind of look a little awkward for her, as she's never really slow danced with a man before. And that's probably have a lot to do with her background and how she was raised very religiously. And, they still got a chance to make some good chit chat before it switches over to Mitch and Kristen's first dance, which was a little bit more upbeat. And I know myself and the fans are a little bit shocked because Mitch came in at the beginning of these previous episodes kind of Devo-ish. And then meanwhile, we have Stasia and Nate. They're talking about their work statuses and hope to kind of venture outside of San Diego. And they both seem like they're pretty interested in relocating. And after what's coming up later down the road with these female friends, she's probably ready to get Nate out of San Diego. And then we can't forget about Lexus and Justin. She's pleased with the match between them, as he seems like the kind of person who can support her firecracker personality. And then back on the other side with Lindy and Miguel celebration, he's asking if she actually speaks Spanish before showing off his skills. Impressed, she informs him that she knows just a little bit, poquito, as she used to study the language and is willing to learn more. So he'd probably be more than happy to teach her how to speak more Spanish. So then we see with Kristen and Mitch, she asks him if he's been married before. He turns around and reveals that he hasn't been in many relationships at all. Now, it does seem that he's also warming her up to the more time they spend together, the more they seem to bond. But however, as these receptions push forward, the traditional elements are carried through, including the cutting of them cakes, which I don't know who make those cakes, no throwing out shade, but I've never seen anything like it. And throwing the bouquets and the garters. And speaking of garters, Alexis was loving every minute of Justin's performance of him removing that garter off of her thigh. I do realize that a lot of the fans found it pretty cringy, but I didn't have a problem with it, especially since Alexis didn't have a problem with it. That's what happens at receptions. She was loving it. She was cheesing the whole audience, and her reception was happy about it. So I'm like, hey, go for it, Justin. Do your thing. Now, this is where it get a little dicey, because now our newly married couples have to sit and chat with the friends and the in-laws. Now, Miguel sit down with Lindy's family, and they reveal that she has a big crush on him. At the same time, Lindy is having a conversation with Miguel's sister, who tells her that she's advising that her brother needs more communication in the relationship. Communication is key. Lindy is receptive to the advice, as the women are getting along. Meanwhile, they're a little bit tense on Miguel's side with Lindy's brother, because religion came up. And they asked him if he believes in God or a higher power. And Miguel shocks the family when he says that he really doesn't believe in organized religion. And I know that's a big thing today. More people are more spiritual than religious or ritualistic. But that didn't sit too well with her brother. So I don't know how that's going to fit in with the family moving forward, or whether we're going to see more of that later on. Now, Mitch has a conversation with Kristen's mom, and he talked about that whole fumble from earlier at the wedding, telling her that he initially thought that she was his bride. Now, that was cringy, but they did have a little bit of a laugh about it, and they got past it. Mitch does tell her mom that he's situated in life and wants to find love, hence the reason why he came to the show. But she doesn't really appear to react too kindly when he says money isn't that important to him. Now, I mean, as that may be true, a lot of people I know in the fans and comment sections equate that to mean, he's broke. We don't know. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Meanwhile, Justin is, trying to go with this whole conversation with his brother, but the brother finally gives full stamp of approval to the marriage with Alexis, because we remember the issues that he had about him during this process. Alexis also have conversations with Justin's grooming where she learns that her new husband can be a little bit sensitive, and it's always one of your friends on this show that usually put them out on Front Street, because the way he said that, it wasn't a positive thing. So I don't know how Alexis is going to take that, but we'll have to see. But so far, I think she's pretty happy. So now Stasia's sisters also grill Nate, who wants to get to know his new bride at a pace that works for the both of them, because they wanted to find out his intention. Now Nate's friends tell Stasia that he doesn't always show his emotions and ask whether she is cool with him having female friends or not. Which brings us to this female friend, Megan. So this conversation got real interesting. And as you probably saw at the beginning of this video, the little clips that I'm referring to. Now, I've watched the conversations happen online during the show and after the show last night. And a lot of people are picking up on vibes that either they have been together once, and if they have not been together, Megan obviously is somebody who wants Nate but never had the opportunity to, and with Stasia now being his new wife, that is off the table. So it's going to be interesting. I know they started this whole storyline at the beginning of the season because the female friends were at the house when he had announced that he was going to be getting married in 2 weeks. But I mean, she got really emotional. It could be that she's just this sweet girl. I don't know her. I don't know him. I don't know any of these people personally. But it's just the vibes that is coming across, and it could be some great editing. Maybe they're just great friends, because men and women, they can be friends with boundaries, just like Stasia said. The question is, and the other thing is that, he only known Megan for a year. 1 year. So I don't know if there's enough there to, try to have so deep of a foundation that she was that emotional about it. But that's just me. I don't know the depth or the level of the friendship. However, it did have a lot of people thinking that if they haven't been together, then obviously this is where Megan feels that he's the one that got away. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. My thing is, they're married now. Respect the marriage. You got to treat the other relationships differently. I'm not saying you got to cut off your friends, but there are boundaries when you are married. You're in a whole different type of relationship. So we'll see how that plays out this season. So I don't know how many more game nights and sunsets is going to be happening for Megan and the other girls. Now, as we know on this show, it is customary for the newlywed couples to talk to their friends about expectation of what's going down on the wedding night. So Miguel and Lindy kind of remain relatively quiet about what their plans are. Kristen is feeling a little chemistry with Mitch, who on the flip side isn't usually one to engage right away on the first night of a relationship. So it seemed like he's not into the one night stands, or at least sleeping together on the first night. This is marriage, but they pick and choose how they want to move. Nate tells his friends he'll do whatever Stasia is comfortable with, which that doesn't surprise me. However, now, as much as Alexis was kind of going back and forth about Justin's celibacy and how that can have on their physical relationship, when the evening begins to kind of wind down, the couples, especially when it comes to Justin and Alexis, was preparing for bed, and the chemistry for them was on 10. I mean, we even saw a clip of Justin talking about how, let's see, how can I put it? How rock hard he is at this point. So, I mean, he obviously have some built up semen retention after a year and a half, you know, and I do realize we just came out of a pandemic. So a lot of people, unless you were in the house with somebody, maybe, you know, you didn't get it in when you fit in. But anyway, I don't want to go off too far. But these two, as much as they kind of playing around with what they're going to choose to do for the night, and Alexis was like, "Nah, we're not doing it." It's going to be something to watch to see if in the next episode, if anything did happen, you know, because they obviously is attracted to each other. She even said in one of her clips that, you know, at first I was worried about that, but she was like, that is so significantly small to be concerned about, you know, whatever attraction, that she feels that everything else is more important what they have together. So, you know, I'm just happy to see that there is a connection. This season, we didn't have anybody crack up at the altar in regards to attraction. We remember what happened with Alyssa, and then what happened in season 12 and 13. Well, you know, that's self-explanatory. So far, so good with the 5 couples at the weddings and everything else. So it was good to see. So let me know your thoughts about the wedding, the receptions, Justin and Alexis' little nighttime romance after the whole shindig, and this whole thing with these sunsets and charade games with Megan and the other girls that, of course, are Nate's female friends, and what's going to happen with Stasha, because I know she going to set boundaries. So also, before we go, make sure you take a second to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. And please don't forget to like and share. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.